How uses the geologist, geometry, the geologist. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. I'm going to try a couple things different. We'll see how it goes. This is kind of a test. As you can see, well, maybe you can't see because this probably will be both audio and video released here on the YouTube channel and then on Spotify for podcasters, formerly Anchor, the venerable Anchor. How we miss you so much. Anyway, what I'm wearing a Weird Frontiers shirt, the latest one, the Weird Frontiers RPG shirt. Fantastic DCC based Western game. David Beatty, huge tome of a book. I look at it on my shelf, and it is probably could stop maybe a 9mm 38 round, probably not a 45 or a rifle round. Anyway, it's pretty thick. It's big like that old Hero 5th edition revised, or the Slumbering Czar. If you have the Necromancer game, Slumbering Czar product. The Necromancer? I think that's right. Anyway, so what am I doing today? I'm going to open another box. They are just accumulating. I have three more boxes after this. And this box, well, thought I had three, and then all of a sudden I got another one. And there's probably some more in the mail as Kickstarters are getting fulfilled. This box here is for you guys. I know it's going to be very exciting audio, but in the video, at least you can see me doing this. It is 27 centimeters, 10.5 inches versus about 34 centimeters or 13 and maybe 3/8 inches. Oh, and I guess there's a thickness to it. And this is 2.5 inches thick or about 6 centimeters. So not quite accurate on the conversions, but whatever. Use our handy dandy box cutter. It's going to be open. Don't cut yourself. I'll just slice away from you. And all right, so what do we got? Oh, there's a few things in here. Interesting. I see. Wow. Okay. Things are falling out. There are bookmarks and coins and a book, more coins. What is this for? Oh, this is not even, this is not even a gaming product, folks. That's exciting. I was not even expecting. This is volume 3 of the Expanse Dragon Tooth graphic novel. You can see here that I'm showing. Pretty cool. It's got other things too. I got some really nice like bookmarks, some hard plastic bookmarks as well, from the Expanse franchise. They're showing things from the novel. That's great. I do need bookmarks because I have a lot of books, and you know my ADHD. I don't know. I get distracted. I start reading a book, and then I jump in. Two coins too. The Expanse coins as well. They have Rocinante on one side and then the Expanse on the other. That's one coin. The other coin has Laconia, and then something in a language I cannot read. Maybe it's Greek, but it's Laconia and the Expanse. So that's really cool. I do like coins. I don't really know quite what to do with them except put them somewhere on a display. I'll have to figure that out. I will put them on my little shelf here associated with the desk and figure out what to do with them. But there's also another little box in here. I gotta open that. That's really cool. That's the Expanse Dragon Tooth Volume 3. I have Volume 1 and 2. I guess I did sort of the slow send it to me one at a time. This other little box, there's a little box inside. I don't know what's in there. I'm gonna open that. Well, let's have some tape to cut through and open up. I thought it was a gaming product, but I guess that one's coming too. What? Oh, nice. Very cool. It is a slipcase to start putting my graphic novels inside. Really cool. What is that? Okay. Oh, okay, okay. There's like a little tab in there, I guess, so you could put your things in. Is that right? Or is that go inside? There's a weird little, maybe that goes inside. Let me see. Does that work? Yeah, I think you pull that out. And then you put the graphic novel inside. It seems they can stay, not move around, or if you take that thing out. Any question? It's kind of hard to put it in. Maybe that, oh, that comes out. I think it just keeps the thing solid. But pretty cool. So yeah, I have volumes one, two, and three. And I guess this is the first slipcase. It's pretty nice. Slipcase has a Ross and Nante on both sides, kind of black with silver lettering on it. Oh, that's a fantastic surprise. Maybe I can put the bookmarks and the coins inside of it, but that's pretty cool. Man, that is I guess as an aside, I was not expecting that. That is a good game, the Expanse role-playing game. It uses sort of the age, Green Ronin age system. So 3d6, one is different, and so it's 2d6 hit a target number, or yeah, 2d6 add your skill, hit a target number, I believe. And then the third dice is sort of a wild dice, not a wild dice in that it adds like Savage Worlds, but it is it 3d6 and then that one. Oh, there is. Oh, I dropped a bookmark. There were three bookmarks. Wow. Okay, three bookmarks. Dropped them. So now I can read three books that I start reading and then they never finish. All right. Oh, this is my cool cup. You can't see on the podcast, but on the video, it's a cool cup that I got. I don't remember from whom. I guess it's Society 6, and it has like all these cassettes of some really cool heavy metal bands, like the cassette size, like if you were to stack cassettes, so like Deep Purple, Judas Priest in Class, Deep Purple in rock, Uriah Heep, very underrated band, Uriah Heep, Iron Maiden, Power Slave, Slayer, Show No Mercy, yeah, all my favorites. Ozzy Osbourne, Diver, Madman, Def Leppard, High and Dry, so 80s era cassettes, which is pretty cool. All right. Anyway, The Expanse is a really good game. I don't have an Expanse book up here with me to make sure of that, but just watch the power and magic of the recording in YouTube. Close with the mechanics. So there are make ability tests, and I was correct, sort of. So you roll 3d6, two dice, and then a drama dice, is a different color, six-sided dice. Add your ability score, and then if you have an ability focus, then you add two for that. And then the drama, then you get degrees. You can have degrees of success. So if you roll six or more, then the difficulty number that you're trying to hit, the target number that you're trying to hit. Then yeah, then you have degrees of success. So, oh, actually, so then the degrees of success, sorry about that. The drama die determines your degrees of success. So if you pull it off flawlessly or just barely. And then in case of equal test results on a post test, for example, the highest drama dice is the tiebreaker. And then the cool thing about the age system is the stunts. And stunts is if you have doubles on any three of your dice, then you generate a stunt, and they have tables where you can look up for combat, for other social tasks, etc. And you roll a stunt, and depending on, and I guess there was like a cost. So if you have six on the dice, you have 6 points to use for the stunts, or etc. So and then there's general combat stunts, gun stunts, grappling, vehicle combat, exploration, etc. Investigation stunts. So it's a pretty robust game. I like it. I like to get it to the table. maybe because of the graphic novels that I will probably pick up and read because it's kind of easy. Now that I have the first three, I think it's three of six that they did for the Kickstarter, then yeah, I can try to promote that again. I know one of my players in the home group is a big on the Expanse, and it's just kind of like a near future history as opposed to, I mean, I guess it is closer to hard sci-fi, much like I would love to develop. I just need like a world book or if I really wanted to put a game in Alistair Reynolds' Revelation space, then I need like a quote unquote world Bible or setting Bible to kind of set it up. And I guess Expanse could be a good one to use. I like the sort of studs, it gives it a heroic feel. There's like fortune points also that you can use. I don't think I need to get into how those are used. Maybe you get to re-roll the dice potentially, kind of like you do with marble game that you can edge or a complication. So in one of the dice again, so which would be kind of neat. So anyway, wow, right, it got me on a tangent because today what I wanted to talk about was the published adventures and railroading. And I think this came up in my games from this week, um, most especially in my Star Wars game, which was really cool. It was fun in the end, but I was just like, wow, they really want this particular thing to happen in the adventure, and I didn't feel right just making it happen and taking away player agency. It was still hard to do because I think things were weighted, but I will describe what happened and you guys can decide whether it is railroady or if I at least gave a semblance of player agency. And actually, if things had gone the player's way, in my opinion, then would have changed. I would have just downstream changed the story. I think they still would have had to get to the last location to clean things up. But yeah, it was an interesting session, a very interesting session. And then I'll compare that to the other games that I ran, which were more or less emergent and player-driven, player-generated random rolls for encounters and even for NPC reactions. So and those games were my Traveller game and then my Hyperborea game that I run. So I think those are the ones I was going to talk about. Well, I definitely was going to talk about Traveller and how that compared. I guess it's more of a sci-fi comparison. Star Wars using the Edge system, so the funny dice that most of you love, I know, proprietary dice that Genesis system uses, although they're even more proprietary specifically for Star Wars. Right, you have proprietary dice for their L5R version, proprietary dice for their Twilight Imperium version, which would be kind of cool to run, and then of course for Star Wars. So they all have different symbols. You can't just buy the generic. I guess this is me, right? You can't just buy the generic Genesis dice. I guess you can use them. Just got to figure out what symbols mean, or what symbols correspond to the symbols like in the Edge dice for Star Wars, Edge of Empire. No, yeah, Edge of Empire, Age of Rebellion, or what my players are pushing is Force and Destiny. So yeah, definitely. Just as a side, in our we had a Force user in the Edge of Empire, and it you know I think that definitely weighed things in that player's favor often. And then I decided for Age of Rebellion, no Force users at all. Although some players like occasionally will, oh, can I take this sort of go on this talent tree and take Force stuff? And I'm, nah, let's not do that. But hey, that makes me think that you want to get to Force and Destiny sooner rather than later. And Force and Destiny, everyone would be a Force user. I think that's more equitable. So yeah. Anyway, anyway, spoilers ahead for the adventure for Age of Rebellion Onslaught on Arda I like the adventure. I really do think that the first chapter, um, where you are it's like sort of the Battle of Hoth, but in a canyon desert planet, on a canyon desert planet. And I think it definitely, I, I believe the outcome maybe it is a bit of a railroad. The outcome is inevitable. The players can't really save the day because there's just too many Imperials, much like on Hoth, even the superstars in the verse, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, uh, Princess Leia, etc., can't save the day. We got to get out because, like all the NPCs, well, they're, I don't know if this helpless is the right word. They're not as competent as the player characters or as the principals in the Star Wars. So it is kind of like Empire Strikes Back, Battle of Hoth. Um, but the players got to do a lot. I mean, and I think they definitely made it easier for the rebels to flee the compromised base. So then they get to um, the second chapter. That was the first chapter. We started that actually last May 4th of this year, and we kind of finished that recently after kind of like as a palate cleanser for the home group, our ongoing Warhammer 4th edition Edge of Enemy Within. And I think we're going to pick that up, probably started up on Black Friday, actually. Anyway, so the next chapter was called Uncharted Territory. The first what chapter, by the way, the battle that Arda is called the Battle of the Gauntlet. Um, so, so player characters got to blow up the canyon, destroy a bunch of AT-ATs, fall back, just take out some key rival level NPCs. Saw some weird shenanigans going on, and actually, when they first got there, it's almost just like out of Empire Strikes Back. There's some weird signals. They ran into like a probe droid, and so they go, "Uh-oh, the Empire's going to come," type of thing. So I guess that's happening after the destruction of the Death Star. And I did, oh, so in the campaign, by the way, I did start it before the Battle of Yavin. That was like season one. And then now in season two, this is after the Battle of Scarif, after the Battle of Yavin. Um, so so now so now the Empire is striking back across the galaxy and going after these rebel cells, using their assets to infiltrate. And that's kind of what this whole adventure is about. You got to catch an infiltrator. So in uncharted territory, you go to another like hidden area and base. They deal with the flora and fauna, and that was kind of a fun little almost interlude sandboxing where the player characters kind of uh, had to rescue some rebels that were out in the field. Then they found another one of these devices, and then one of the people there, one of the principals or one of the leaders there at the base, because these players are like they're pretty well known. Their claim to fame is they kind of broke into an Imperial uh, test facility and stole a prototype ship. And then since then, and then they also uh, did some cool things on Onderon, not Alderaan, Onderon, so the birthplace of Saul Guerra, and did some anti-imperial activities there. Met some of the, I had to meet some of those sort of stars characters that they introduced in Rebels, which was kind of fun. Anyway, and then it met some of the big ones like that they from Rebels and even from the original series. So I thought that was kind of cool. We kind of I was originally going to run the Battle of Scarif, but decided against that. Um, and Battle of Yavin just to see. But then I was like, but I mean that's going to happen. So I just said, you guys were there. You can or throw into your backstory what you did and how you reacted. Obviously, you didn't land on Scarif. You're probably involved in the space battle above it with your prototype ship. This probably helped in helping um, get the shield down, right? So because the shield can break through force fields. Yes, it's Imperial prototype ship, so it's a shield like a shield breaker. And then yeah, and then Battle of Yavin, maybe they weren't even there, or maybe they already dispersed elsewhere or whatever. So they put that in their own backstories. I haven't really developed that. But anyway, back to this. Yagomir is a world, and then they do like a little sandbox, find some things around, find some more clues, find out that they're the uh, uh, the MSP 100 Terrahopter hoverpod that they're using to fly around was there's attempt sabotage on it, and then they like, oh, someone's gonna try to blow us up. So then they definitely have some information. They they kind of dug, they figured out who it was. And then see, here's where I think is as they find out, there's this scene where uh, this guy gets away, right? And the setup is he kidnaps one of the leaders on the base and holds him at gunpoint and backs away and then takes off in his hidden ship, right? And I was like, oh man, that's just it's kind of it reminded me of this one incident that I felt that the adventure was also very railroady, where the player characters were set up for murder, and it really didn't make sense. But in this one, I mean, they knew who the guy was, and and I think what I did is when they got to base, I think they had to get hard evidence, and I think that was a stopping point. They knew who this guy was circumstantially. They went to the leader, and they had to present the hard evidence to them. And I think I decided I had made some roles. I had made some roles in the background because the bad guy or the infiltrator is pretty competent. He's got some good skills to do that. He's the one who tried to sabotage the Terrahopter. So he was on to them. And when they come back and they're not dead, then he's like, I gotta get going. I gotta move out of here because I'm sure they're gonna rat me out. So as they're in the process of getting ready to confront them and present this to the other leaders on the base, right? They can't just, I guess they could have, and I would have rolled with that if they would have, but I think they're good rebels and they understand the procedural, right? They're not, I guess if they were a bunch of scum and villainy or ex-smugglers, then they would have maybe gone around the procedure and taken this guy out, right? Just and if they do have a commando droid among them who is an ex-assassin from Clone War era, so I guess that they could have done it, but they chose not to, and they said they were so this guy acts, and then he has like a really good skills uh, to so in a way the game is sort of player facing. There's not really opposed roles, and it's like when they roll their dice, then they get um, the difficulty is set by the ability of the adversary. And this guy is a pretty good adversary. He's good at what he does, like stealthing around, sneaking around. Probably not a great fighter or a great pilot, but definitely a good infiltrator. So you got like the toughest, like three. So it's a hard chance of three complication dice to mitigate their positive dice, and you can raise them all up to like the red D12, which has a lot of failures and bad things happen. So anyway, he's pretty tough, but some of the as the players are acting, some players actually found out or got some also did some other investigations and discovered some strange signals now that they were working on this contraption they found that was signaling that they thought was signaling the Empire or whatever, calling probe droids or something. And they're like, oh, this is almost a similar signal, so we start tracking it down. So some players were tracking it down, trying to track it down, and then some players had went to the command of the base of this rebel cell to say, this is a bad guy, we need to get him. So the bad guy acts, and I give him some chances. So they are able to roll dice. But I just felt like this guy, they really weigh it in the favor of the bad guy to get away. But I felt like I should give chances. There were two players where he was gonna put one of the commanders to grab and put one of the commanders to gunpoint. They rolled against a very challenging difficulty and they failed, both of them. And then they got locked in the command room. And then there was a chase was on. While the other guys, see, the good thing is that they had another chance, right? If they were all together, that would have been it, right? Although maybe with 4, 5 players, and eventually, then one of them probably would have succeeded despite the difficulty. But the other 3 characters were out in the field, kind of tracking down the signal, and they had found sentry droids, right? They're like, "Whoa, this is not good. We got to track him down." And they kind of found the location, and then suddenly this like speeder bike kind of zips by, and then on the radio, the other player's like, he's getting away, he's getting away, get this guy. And then they're like, oh, that's the guy. And then so it went by so fast and they failed, they lost initiative. So I had basically the speeder bike zip as far as possible. But I was like, I mean, you got to give the players a chance. And one of the players did have a sniper gun, sniper rifle equivalent. So like a sniper bolt blaster thingy. Of course, the commando. So he can fire at extreme range. So that's a 4 difficulty. So it's a pretty challenging task. It's that the bad guy's an adversary, so he gets to bump the dice up to a stronger dice. But he got a shot and he missed. So I don't know. I guess and I guess here's where it could have like, and then they're like the guys who are chasing him from the base, they have the sniper get on the speeder bike, and then the other guys, one guy calls for his battle bird. They acquired some of these flying battle birds on Onderon, and then so there's a big chase, and there's another guy jumps on the Terrahopter, so they're chasing this guy. They do have to. So now that the guy knows he's being chased, he activates the security droid, so that kind of use that as sort of an obstacle, which is not too bad an obstacle. They're able to take out the security droids, but that also delays in a way them or distracts them from the guy being able to get to his ship, his hidden ship, which is like, oh man. And then like the computer guy is like still working and trying to figure stuff out while he's flying the Terrahopter. And of course he rolls a complication and some of the local fauna that take issue with this Terrahopter flying around their territory. So that was a little fun little side combat. No injuries, but it was, tense. So the guy gets away. I mean, he gets on his ship, he blasts away, almost runs into another character, or the other two characters like that are on the battle birds, and the other guys on the speeder bike who are chasing, they just get there just too late. Right? He had such a head start. They were delayed by the droids, which were not really a pro. Again, they were just an obstacle. I didn't think that they would challenge the players that much. So then he got away, and I guess that goes at least to they know where he's going because they did like all the research and they figure out who this guy was. They know where he's going. Actually, they definitely know where he's going because the Battlebird guy was able to shoot tag on the ship as it was taken off, which was great. So they know exactly where they're going to be. So the next chapter is a rendezvous at Rod Radama. So that's where they're going to go, and I guess they're going to have to be the infiltrators now. But I feel like I don't know. It's interesting running published adventures and more. I guess like we're running the enemy within and all that kind of stuff. But truth be told, I guess my players and maybe I'm just not as confident, and I have a lot of material anyway that I want to use. But I guess I'm not as confident running my own thing. But my players tell me like when I've done like random adventures and random things occur, that's been the most fun and spontaneous and a great time. So we did that with Cyborg. We've done it with Octoon Cthulhu in that home group. Um, so, but we're running through an adventure path in Warhammer, an adventure path in Pathfinder, running Bloodlords. But I guess maybe as I'm becoming more confident and as the players get into more shenanigans and they know that they can try stuff and hey, it might work and it could change the direction, and that's fine. They've done that a lot in the Enemy Within campaign and kind of they haven't gone through the steps. They've done things where we can skip a couple chapters because that's superfluous or not necessary because the players got the clues and interpreted them correctly and were active. I guess that's the thing. If they push, generally speaking, I will reward a group of players if they push the action forward, right? If they kind of sit back on their heels and are a little cautious, well, then that gives time to the bad guys to complete their plans and get ready for the players. But if they hit them hard, hit them fast without, and I guess that's a principle that my group for the Twilight 2000 game holds to, is that we are not going to sit back. We need to push forward, not let the bad guys recover from our initial strikes, but keep going, keep them on the back of their heel, backed up, back on their heels. And I think to me that's a fun session to adjudicate. Is when the players kind of push things forward. So that's a rundown and my little mini rant on published adventures and how they attempt to railroad. So I think if they would have caught him, right, they would have interrogated him and found out what information he was. I think the sniper would have hit him and taken him out or injured him, because I mean, he's not a minion, so it wouldn't be like one shot, one kill. It'd be a critical injury, and then go from there. So that might, even if they would have hit him, might not have, it slowed him down, but it wouldn't have probably taken him out. Although if it would have knocked him unconscious, there could have been other complications because he had a prisoner. In any case, right, likely they would have captured him. And then we still could have done chapter 3, because then they're like, well, we got to know what you've given, and then we got to stop that. So then they probably still would have sent, command was still sent the player characters, or the player characters probably would have volunteered, but one of them is part of the, in a way, part of the command structure. I would have volunteered the group, to go take this out. Hey, we have a prototype Imperial ship. Um, I'm sure we have Imperial uniforms around. We'll say we captured it from the rebel scum and get to Adama, infiltrate, because we're good at that too. Player characters are, and now find this guy, rescue, the commander that he kidnapped, because that person has a lot of intel on the rebels, and they're going to need to stop that by whatever means necessary. Actually, one of the commanders said, "Stop. Make sure this does not happen by whatever means necessary. Use extreme prejudice if you need to." Right. So it's our rated R, version and/or version um, of Star Wars. So some violence. Anyway, yeah. So I think, again, even if they would have, not been, or fought and defeated the railroad, I guess I need some sound effects. So fought and defeated that railroad, then things would have gone in another direction, and I still think we could have completed the adventure. I think that's the fun of it, to me. So, all right. So in contrast, now I take you to my Monday Traveler game, and the player characters had told me. I had asked them. I've said this I think before. I'd asked them, hey, we can just skip and get to where you're supposed to get, present your animal, um, and with this, finish up this job that you started way back, earlier in the year. Finish up this job for this nobleman, so you can get his accolades and sell the company. So then you guys can get an upgraded ship, and in a way work as, liaisons for Sterilon Corporation, which would then become bought out, as a subsidiary of Narsika, one of the big Villani base, their Villani, origin mega corporations. They have another noble, who is working with them, and they are in fact, they're banner nobles, right? So they were, uh, raised to knighthood because of anti-terrorist actions, a couple times, both against sort of sword wielders. Where, if you're familiar with, the Third Imperium, this is kind of pre Fifth Frontier War, so it's almost like preludes to the Fifth Frontier War. So circa 1105, Third Imperium. But you can take all that out, and it's still a fun space opera, sci-fi adventure, space trucking combination game. They don't do they do carry the mail, but they haven't really done a lot of space trucking. And originally they had like a lab ship and a scout ship, and I think, the scout ship they'll just return to the scout service, and the lab ship, they're getting an upgraded lab ship that has a better jump capabilities, better abilities in general, a better med lab to promote Sterilon. Or actually, they're on like a liner, like a 600-ton ship, about the size of one of those mercenary broadsword classes ships. So it can pack a punch. It has some staying power, and maybe that'll be their platform. When it has a conference room, you can put a lab in there. You can carry a lot of. You can have your own like mobile conference in a way, to promote Sterilon and Narsika. If it works out, it should work out. They're on pace to get to Mora, and get to this meeting, and should all be great. And so far so good. They've kept this kind of very, onerous sometimes, and, troublesome noble in check. So anyway, they didn't want to just fast forward. They wanted to jump and see what happened. So we've had some great adventures. We had an adventure where when they misjumped, another ship had misjumped, and they kind of it was sort of a diplomatic session where this Aslan ship had misjumped and was being escorted by an Imperial ship. Aslan are cat-like race, also of Sophonts, that also have the technology or developed the technology for faster than light travel. So they're like a major species, major Sophont in the verse. And it was a good diplomatic solution that, well, since they have a conference room and you know, a liner, uh, like a kind of almost a noble yacht in a way, but a little bigger and a little better. They had they did the solution on their boat in the new neutral territory. It was great. So then they jumped again. They're like one jump away from Mora. They jumped to the mate system, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to jump to get to the main world. It's got a good starport. Maybe we should check in with the noble there." And I rolled random encounter. So I mean, it just could have gone smoothly, whatever. But I rolled a random encounter. It's a ship. I roll on the kind of ship table is, and I roll pirates. I go, oh, this could be interesting. So then I roll randomly to determine the number, what type of ship it is. They do some scans, and then of course the pirates are on the edge of the asteroid belt, and they're kind of trying to spoof that they're in trouble. And I guess etiquette, space etiquette is such that you need to render assistance to a vessel that is in trouble. They try to get information from the vessel, but they're not firing their transponder, which is sus. Then when they contact them and go, "Hey, what's going on? Are you okay?" They give a very suspicious answer. I failed their deception roll badly for the pirates. So then they said, "Okay, well, we're going to come closer, see what's going on, see what's going on," and then the ship takes off further into the asteroid belt. So they give chase, and then they suspect that these are ne'er-do-wells, and they're like, "Well, maybe it is our duty, since we are banner nobles, to make sure that they don't cause trouble to other boats in the area. We're a large and relatively well-armed vessel, but what about your standard merchant vessel?" So they take a couple shots across the bow, and then yeah. So they decided to give chase. They could have ignored it. They had a much faster ship. They could have ignored it, and just gone on to the home world, and then reported to the authorities we had a suspicious ship. But then maybe they go, "Why didn't you render aid?" Anyway, so they made decisions. Players made decisions and gave chase. Made decisions to open fire, but warning shots. And then I rolled what the response of the ship would be. They don't know that they're firing warning shots. They just know these shots almost hit us, and almost like scratch the paint off of the vessel. So they returned fire. Maybe that's what the players were trying to do. I don't know. But I rolled for their reaction to do so, and then randomly it came up that were offended or threatened by this, and they attacked. And maybe someone on the pirate ship like, "Oh, we can take him. We have a contingent of like quote unquote Marines or boarders, and they're probably just a bunch of stuck up nobles. We'll take them, right?" And they even taunt to that effect, although they get the company wrong. It is the system is sort of run by a company. Maybe these are rebels. I don't know, but they're pirates and they're trying to anyway. Not showing, not putting their transponder. So we do have a space battle, and it was pretty exciting. And I mean, because it's expensive. And also they have like a noble from Narsec on board. It's like, "Oh yeah, I hope you guys know what you're doing. But I trust you. We've gone through a lot already. So hey," and then they take this ship. It's called the Minstrel, luxury liner type of ship. Not a luxury liner quite, but think of it as a 600-ton like noble yacht. But it's pretty well armed. It's sleeker. It's bigger, can hold more people. Anyway, and it does have guns. It has some pulse lasers and sandcasters, and they have gunners that they've hired, part of the crew. So yeah, it's great because the gunners are like a Vargur, an old Vargur space hand named Pops, and then a stowaway, an Aslan stowaway that they just picked up, who got a jump ship from that other Aslan ship, and is kind of like an outcast. Anyway, so they engage. There's some maneuvering. The ship the ship tries to get close enough to even to board the pirate ship, and it's a one third the size of their ship. And then the pilot, who's one of the one of the player characters, is a really good pilot, and he avoids the attempted boarding. They kind of kite them back away and just and not really annihilate this pirate ship. I mean, it's a cask in space combat in Mongoose Traveller second edition. It's actually pretty good. It moves fast, and it's definitely a cascade of one bad thing leads to another, and they just hauled the ship, destroyed the cargo, were blowing up various compartments, and eventually the ship was dead in the water with various explosions going on. Well, obviously, you couldn't hear it because it's in space, but they could see, you know, bad things happening on the ship. And I rolled also, because I think at one point they totally destroyed the life support, like critical hits in the life support. So then the ship only had like a few rounds. The people in the ship only had a few rounds to combat that. So, and then they destroyed the cargo hold where the boarders were going to come through, and just anyway, it is carnage, right? In a sci-fi was carnage in a sci-fi bodies floating out in space kind of way. Um, and then I rolled in front of them because I usually roll in front of them for the most part, unless it's an opposed roll and they might not know the outcome. But I roll in front of them, and the bridge crew of the pirate bridge crew cannot get it together. They all fail whatever roll I needed for them to make to kind of secure themselves, um, get into properly get into their vac suits. They weren't ready, and they basically all perished. So when the boat they did the right thing. They kind of called out and said, "Hey, this is what's going on." And they found a scout ship, and the scout ship came to help them with the salvage. But there was not very much salvageable, and I guess they could. It's not worth it to try to recover like the borders that are floating out in the space here in this asteroid belt. But they definitely could recover the bridge crew, their bodies at least. And even if there were any ones in low berth, they would have been vented out into space by just the damage to the ship that they did with the well-placed pulse laser shots by Pops and Stericol. I think that's the name of the Onslaught gunner. So Pops being the larger gunner. So yeah, it was a really cool little session, self-contained little session. Similarly, I'm probably going on. I have no idea how long it's going to be. But similarly, when I ran Hyperborea, again, randomly generated sets of things happened. Players came back from a treasure haul from the last time, which was very random and off the cuff. And this time, since they've done things through the course of the campaign, there could be retaliations. And I use sort of the idea from an echo resounding by Kevin Crawford, where you have certain things can occur and that are triggered, and they occur on a 6 on a d6 dice. I roll maybe monthly or periodically for this to happen. I did this with my Broken Lands campaign, and it was cool because like things would happen, things would attack because of what the player characters did or what happened in the world at large. So in this case, since it already happened where there was the denizens of the island that they're on kind of triggered some undead pits, right? A cenote and a sacrificial pit. And yeah, and then there's a zombie attack at night against the fort. And one of the players were there, the other players weren't even there. So one player was there and was able to lead the levies and the lagoon village and turning undead and all this kind of stuff. Trying to promote his little temple to Rel Hermes. He's a purloiner, I believe that's what it's called. And then so they've also done some other things where they have some run-ins with what are called crabmen, and these crabmen are sort of like they're crabman, but not like crabman like you remember from sort of AD&D 1E days, but they're structured differently. They're more like centaurs, So they have like a crab head and then the body. Anyway, they got some technology. They got laser gauntlets. They have shock pikes. So anyway, they attacked in force. They attacked the lagoon because this is almost a retaliation for the Amazonian capture of one of their little work plan stations on the southern part of the island that happened like a few months ago, I guess. So finally, rolled at six. They attacked. I rolled randomly to see what ships were in the lagoon. There is a war galley and a merchant vessel, a merchant bireme, both Amazonian run. And they attack, and then I had two units of the bad guys. So the crabmen unit firing laser gauntlets, very deadly unit. And then I had some crabmen herding crabs to attack like the village, as sort of a distraction, almost like an infantry. So I thought it went really well. I kind of ran a combination of players, what do you do? And then the units. So there was like a unit of the levies, of course. There was a unit of Amazons um, that came eventually, and then two units of Amazons that came eventually, and then the boat crews of the Amazons. And yeah, it was really dynamic. I thought it's really cool. But some of the highlights of that battle, the war galley and the bireme were eventually overrun. The merchant, the Amazonian merchants on the bireme kind of held out for a while until some of the player characters could get there. We had the warlock casting webs in the village to kind of, and the druid casting entangle to channel the crabs as they came onto the shore, helping the levies to stab them. And then it was really one of the players actually dove into the water, the Atlantean, and he saw what was going on with the herding of the crabs, uh, took out a crab man, grabbed a pike, and then was trying to fight the other ones. That was a tough fight. He almost got taken out by the crab man underwater, fighting, pike and kiting and spells, and eventually he was able to back up to land. The crabman, very irritated and angry. Well, I don't know if angry, irritated, let's just say, because these crab folk are very cold creatures. Came on board, and then by this time, though, bloodied and battered. This is the Purloiner Zotis Pentos Atlantean, actually played by Dark Fluid. You might know him from the podcast verse and Audio Dungeon Discord. Anyway, he kind of stood his ground. By that time, the Amazons had punched through the crab folk and were behind him. And then one of the warlock hauler had moved towards to help the bireme, took out some people. I thought was a really fun thing is the Legerdemainus Tonrar was actually, he has a laser gauntlet from a previous encounter. He was like sniping some of these crabmen and was able to recover a crabman, get another laser gauntlet, and then he actually, even though the war galley had been overrun with and was on fire, he actually climbed on the war galley and put out the fires. So really saved a lot of damage. Could be recoverable now, not sunk to the water. So that's kind of great. Although the Amazons at the end were as appreciative as he wanted, unfortunately. But hey, he got some loot from it. We got a good haul of loot from the 10 or so from the crabmen that they killed and the crabs that they defeated. And then what's another highlight here? Oh, Put the Skinner, who is a cryomancer. He they were at the fort, so there was, it was kind of cool because some players were at the fort, some players were in the lagoon, and it's kind of a running dynamic battle. And the players said they loved it. They loved that there was like a unit, they could feel like a battle was going on because we did the unit roles, crabmen, but then they as individuals could contribute to the battle. Um, Randomly generated, right? So I think I mean, yeah, it's a rumor that there's there, and it's a possibility that it could happen, but randomly generated. The setup, and then of course when we go through the battle, right? Um, so uh, it was good. So output the Skinner, he actually in the previous adventure they found a crate of grenades. So sort of like so I put kind of ran down with this crate of grenades because the crate actually has some buoyant properties. We call them the light crates. And he ran down, was able to get to the fight, firing at some crabmen in the village. And then in this last round, while they're trying to redirect to take out the remains of the remnants of the crabmen who had just overrun the Byrene, he threw a grenade to great effect into a mist of crabmen and great bloom up. Yeah, I feel like in the last phase of the battle, there were like 3 or 4 crits. The Hauler was sleeping them, and then Bear the Druid and his Lizardfoot companions were entangling and hacking through and beating, killing crabs and crabmen. And then Zotis confronting a crabman on the shore. He said, forget it. I'm going to have this Amazons behind me. If I don't get it, they will. So he charged the guy and killed him like in one hit twice. One was a crit, and took out this crabman single-handedly, which was pretty cool. The one that had been harassing him did some good damage to him. So, and then there was a charge, and then and I think the great thing is that while the Amazons didn't quite finish the crabmen, the levies, bolstered by the heroes, I rolled a crit on the last attack for the levies, and they just charged into the crabmen and finished them off. So with Holler, I'll put Zotis, Bear, and Tonrar contributing and leading the way. That was great. So yeah, I guess that's a difference. Maybe I'm more excited to run these ones that I randomly generate. So anyway, I think I'll call it here. When the Geomologist presents, hey, drop a comment here on the YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, or send me a line, a DM message, whatever. What do you think? I guess maybe you probably will answer yes. I'm hoping, should I do more of my own thing as opposed to published adventures? How do you work around, or how have you worked around the railroad of a published adventure? Did I railroad them too much or take away, importantly, their agency? Right? I've been reading through Mothership, and maybe I should do a whole thing on Mothership. But there's so many, like, I don't know, guides for how to help maintain player agency in a horror game, especially one that is pretty punishing and not very forgiving, like Mothership. So maybe that'll be another podcast, maybe soon, because I really am enjoying Mothership, the box set, and stuff like that. Anyway, I think that'll be it. I have a SpeakPipe account you can leave a message to as well. My wife Amy does a cover clip art and any things you at the beginning and front, intros and outros, and helps produce the show. And thank you to our mysterious benefactor for the intro and outro music. So thank you so much. Good night and good rolling.